Oh, it's buffering already. It's a very, very strong start we've got. If it's buffering already, you'll have to see it. So I'm gonna run something past you guys first, because I know my friend's not watching the live stream. Which one was I gonna get him? Oh, you guys can't even see this. Haha. I'll have to bring it up on the second screen. Just looking at getting my friend a gift for his birthday. You better not be watching this. Which one was it? I was gonna go. It's this one. Was it this? No, it was not that one. Right, has that gone up in price? No. Ah, there it is. Oh, it has. I think. It's gonna get one of these bad boys. Chill out. Cool. Website looks cool, so I wanna go see if see what they're like. That's really weird. The wait, price jump there. So yeah. Yeah, we're all good. We're all good here. How's it going, everyone? Just a lot on my mind, I think. So I wanted to kind of discuss some stuff with you guys. So, I thought it'd be worth doing. You know, at least the politics side of it. So there's a lot to talk about, really. I think this week. I regret. Samurai Warriors 5. Wow, this post is old. Oh, hello. I found a little code, got a little discount. Thanks, stream. But yeah, I should have done some stuff on the party conference, but I can't lie. I'll explain at the end why I've kind of been like lazier, I guess. Not even lazier with content. I think just not as active. It's just it'll make sense once I get to the end of the stream. If you guys can stay awake that long, I'm probably gonna try and go for about an hour if possible. But we'll see where it goes. But hopefully by latest at 11, because I do want to get some sleep, which escapes me, especially on Sundays. So let's get this thing started. So we'll start with Lewis Goodall talking about fascism and oops, oh, did I click League of Legends? Hopefully I didn't. And yeah, you know, Polanski, like, he needs to be a lot more like clever with the language he uses, because it's easy. Maybe how many stars give it? Probably like out of 5, like a 2, like a 2 out of 5, maybe. I think I'll give him a 2, 2 out of 5. Yeah, it wasn't a dud, but it wasn't great, to be honest. But you know, we're going to be discussing when you get what you voted for towards the end of this.
You've described Nigel Farage.
I do want to discuss Polanski a little bit, because you know he's the boy at the moment.
As a fascist. Now, fascism, the last time I checked, involved ultra-authoritarian nationalism, the suppression of dissent, a single-party state, a cult of personality, and the use of violence or paramilitarism to achieve its ends. Which of those criteria would you say Nigel Farage satisfies?
Cult of personality.
I think most of them were on the way if you actually listen to the things that he's saying.
Also, what, a single-party state? He's not proposed to abolish British democracy. That's absurd.
Well, he's not yet, but also during Brexit, when you think about Take Back Control, some of the themes that were in there all seem to be speaking.
What you think that Brexit was about the consolidation and the creation of a single-party state?
I think Brexit was ultimately about protecting the wealth of multimillionaires and
billionaires. Yeah, but that's different. No, you're changing the conversation there, Zach Polanski.
So this is what Polanski does try and do well. He does try and go back to his usual talking points. The problem is, though, he's dealing with a political nerd here in Goodall, and Goodall's absolutely cooked him here.
I've just asked you about how you think Nigel Farage satisfies the criteria of fascism, one of which involves a really key one, the creation of a single-party state. What has Nigel Farage said or done which would indicate any legitimacy to the idea that he's in favour of a single-party state?
Well, I was about to finish with what I was saying, which is when you have excess power in this country and wealth, which often come together, when that utilises working class resentment, you don't have to be a historian to know there are many times in the history when that's exactly when fascism begins.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't agree with Polanski's take on this one, to be honest with you. it doesn't. You can't call someone a fascist and then them not. As much as you can make the argument Farage is racist. I'd back that argument. Especially what he said about Romanians and Bulgarians. Him standing on in front of that poster about like showing a load of, I think, refugees or at least people who are foreign who are coming here, and I'd definitely put the charge of racism. Fascism is a different thing, and you got to be careful with language, especially when it comes to politics. Certain things have defined definitions of them. Fascism being one of them, characterized by a dictatorial leader. I mean, you could argue he's the dictatorial leader of reform, but I don't centralized autocracy. But that's a political party. That's not how the state is run. Forcible suppression of opposition. He doesn't really do that. Belief in a natural social hierarchy. He probably does believe in that, to be honest. Subordination of individual interests for a perceived interest of a nation or race. He believes in hoarding money for the wealthy, not really for English or British people. A strong regimentation of society and the economy, which I don't think he really believes neither. I think if they manage to take charge, they'll slash and burn the economy. It'll be worse. It'll make Liz Truss look like a joke, honestly. So yeah, carrying on. Polanski was cooking at the conference recently.
The Prime Minister might call this an island of strangers. When Farage says jump, Labour might say how high. But the Greens will never dance to the tune of a Trump-loving, tax-avoiding, science-denying, NHS dismantling corporate stooge.
I mean, if fascism does return, it won't be the same as the 30s. Farage loves Putin and Trump. I think they're all one-party state. Farage an English nationalist. I think he would be a nationalist. Like, it's with these terms, like even when people talk about such and such person's a Nazi or a communist, right? It's like these have like actual definitions. Like, you can't throw around these sort of terms like just willy-nilly. It doesn't make sense. So I don't know, man. No, I don't think Polanski, he does need to be more careful, because the more he gets tripped up in them sort of interviews, the more stupid he kind of looks. But with this kind of speech, there, it's pretty good. The audio here is an abomination. They're clipping the audio, that's the problem. Don't agree with their views, however. Who's this for? Reform UK? What, the conference? Nah, mate. They had Andrea Jenkins singing. You can't give that 4. Nah. Their conference was abysmal, bro. They had they had some anti-vaxxer on there who was pushing nonsense, and then they had to deny that they had him. Like, no. The Reform UK was an abomination. They lost points in the polls. Like, no.
You might as well stay on your feet, because I'm going to say, we'll say it loud, we'll say it clear, migrants and refugees are welcome here!
So yeah, it's pretty good. That one was good, I think. And then he's got a bit more.
Without talking about stopping genocide, without talking about the draconian crackdown on the right to protest,
we'll be discussing that later.
Happening against those taking action for Palestine, using terrorist legislation to arrest hundreds and hundreds of protesters for simply holding up a sign.
Especially when the court case against Palestinian Action is still going, so for them to be able to still push through that ruling, that the putting Palestine Action in the terrorist watch list, I think it's wrong for me. I think it should go. It should wait for the outcome of the court case.
The prescription of Palestine Action must be withdrawn.
Palestine Action, not Palestinian Action.
And every parliamentarian Labour, Tory, Reform, even Lib Dem, who failed to vote against it, need to hang their heads in shame.
You're giving Reform higher grade than the Greens. That's crazy.
this country has a proud tradition of protecting civil liberties. But once again, a Labour government is cracking down on our rights. From terrorist prescriptions against protesters to banning journalists from their conference.
That one was outrageous. I saw they got rid of, I think Rivka was her name, one of the other dudes I've cited recently, and Owen Jones, was just silly, to be honest.
To diving into a rushed evidence-free plan for digital IDs that will only discriminate mainly against minorities, the alarm bells of authoritarianism are ringing loud and clear.
One thing I do find interesting about Polanski is he doesn't do the rich boy point, the private school point.
The alarm bells of authoritarianism are ringing loud and clear.
Which is quite interesting. Because normally private school educated people, they're taught to point with their thumb, not with their finger.
And so, my friends, it is down to us.
Oh, does he think we're friends? That's nice.
The Green Party, to take a stand, say our rights, our liberties, are non-negotiable, and we will do everything in our power to protect both our privacy and defend our juries.
Defend our what? Juries? Choice? See, juries? Sorry, it's not. I'm not even taking the piss out of him because I know he's got like a speech impediment.
Our juries.
I don't know, but yeah. But yeah, I think he was cooking. He needs to be careful when it comes to certain terms he uses. But yeah. I think overall, there's some good speeches there, man. Some pretty good speeches. You know, Zach, if you did think we were friends, you know, you do have an invite to the Sunday roast. You do have an invite to my channel, and yeah, you know, if you want to be on your podcast, depending on where you're located and when you recorded, I'd be tempted.
You just
Now we go from Zach Polanski, a person who was speaking some sense, to a person who is speaking in no sense.
outline.
Or should I say nonsense?
That's only one of the things that's
In terms of Reform UK presentation, it was good, entertaining. Like I said, don't agree with their views. I mean, you could have an entertaining conference, that's fine, but you know, like the whole point is it's meant to push the party onwards. Like, you know, you want a policy platform, or you want at least people to know what you're about a bit more. Whereas, you know, apart from pushing some nonsense around vaccines, you know, they rode back on. There's not much.
in there. We need to leave the ECHR in order to do so. But
And you know, this is kind of the genius of Nigel Farage in the sense of he knows how to push the Everton window. You know, he was the guy talking about leaving the ECHR. Now you've got, you know, the government talking about amending bits of the Human Rights Act and things like that, and I think the Modern Slavery Act, amongst other things, so they can deport people more. Because that's Farage has done all of that. Farage is the guy. He's getting people's rights repealed without even being in charge. With 5 MPs, he's doing more damage to human rights than any other political party outside of the Labour Party.
people need to go back to their countries. They can go to safe third countries if that's the best thing for them. We had a Rwanda plan. We had a deterrent that
You didn't have a deterrent. It wasn't going to work. The Rwanda plan was a joke.
was already working in
It wasn't working.
terms of deterring people before it had even come into place.
Well, hang on. The
Labour
evidence
scrapped
on that is disputed. And
Oh, Laura Kuenssberg fact check. What?
here's the point about
I'm
Rwanda.
sure people will dispute it, but the point is,
And it
Labour
was
scrapped
disputed.
it. They had no plan. They said they were going to smash the gangs, and crossings have
She interrupted before the fact check.
increased 40%
So
since they came in.
where would you propose that 150,000?
She fucked it. She fucked it up. She should have gone with her fact check. Channel. She fucked it up. So they had the Rwanda thing. Oh, hello. Sorry about that. Which tweet are we on? Nope, it's not it. It's this one here. So the Rwanda plan. When was it meant to come in? Was it last year? I mean, I guess if you wanted to, you couldn't even make the argument. They'll put it in 2024. The Rwanda plan was meant to take off. So between 23 and 24, the boat crossings actually rose. So yeah, that's not really a deterrent, is it? So just going to say 23 number was lower than 24, and 24 is when you're going to put the Rwanda plan in. So sorry, buddy.
1,000 people would go? Because the original Rwanda plan was going to take perhaps 1,000 people over 5 years.
Laura,
so where would those people all go?
Not here. Not here. They do not belong here. They are committing crimes. They are hurting people. We have been trying to deport so many people and have been facing obstacles in the legal system. That's why we're leaving the ECHR. We tried to deport a Jamaican national who had committed crimes. Shabana Mahmood and Keir Starmer wrote a letter asking us not to deport him. He went on to kill someone else later. I'm tired of us asking.
So, what crime did he do? Like, why was he not put in prison for the original crime he did then? You know, if the prison system weren't so backlogged and the kind of sentencing guidelines, you know, complete rubbish in this country, why was he allowed to commit crimes and then not be in prison? Doesn't make sense. Yeah, Jenric's going to win pretty easy.
All of these irrelevant questions about where should they go, they will go.
I mean,
back.
that's 100% relevant of where will they go. If you're talking about deporting people, you have to have some sort of plan for where they're going to be deported to. You know, she's trying to pull a Farage and give no detail whatsoever. It's not going to work.
To where they should do, or another country, but they should not be here. We need to look after the people in our country.
But it's not irrelevant to say where would they go. That's a fundamentally important
It is
question.
the most relevant question: is should they be here? If they
if you say they shouldn't be here, where are you going to send them?
Should not be here, then they need to be removed.
And once you have concluded that,
oh my God, bro, this she's actually. Oh my God.
you have to say where they would
Laura, the logical conclusion.
She's so dense, light bends around her.
Of what you're saying is that let's just give up. It's just all too.
No one's saying that. That's a straw man. That's a straw man. She's just asking where they're going to go. That's a complete straw man that she's done there.
Difficult. This is how we've got to this mess. We cannot.
You were in charge, pal. Your party was in charge, buddy. Clearly, your party gave up, if that's what you're saying.
This attitude anymore. That is why we have come up with a credible plan. It's not going to be easy.
Credible plan.
But it is.
Tell us credibly where
I've
they would go.
answered that question.
No,
they will go back.
Told us where
I
they
have.
Go.
They will go back.
Oh my God, she's so bad. Even Laura Kuenssberg's doing journalism.
To where they came from. That's what they need.
So back to Afghanistan.
To do. We cannot.
Or Iran. Or one of those countries where you don't have returns agreements with them.
Have a situation where we can't deport people and say, well, we don't know where they go, so they can just stay here. That is basically inviting every single person across the world to our shores because we don't know where they would go afterwards.
So you think it would be feasible?
But where are you going to send them to? That's the problem. Like, are you going to force them back to Afghanistan? If they're, you know, like, it doesn't make sense.
And defeatist attitude.
So you think,
and I will not have that. We need to have stronger borders, and the Conservative Party has come up with a plan to do that. It is not just that 150,000. It is about banning asylum claims for people who've arrived here illegally. It is about making.
But it's not illegal though. You know, channel crossing is not illegal.
Sure that we leave the ECHR. It is about the return scheme with visa sanctions. There's so much in there. The removals force will be funded by a lot of the money which comes from closing down asylum hotels. We need to make sure that we stop spending.
And again, this is the Farage effect of, you know, not just leaving the ECHR, but putting up ridiculous numbers of we're going to deport more than you, pal. That's what's happened here.
Billions on people who should not be here and spend the billions on removing them from our country.
And you clearly feel very, very passionately
I do.
that people who don't have a right to be here shouldn't be here. And that is a unifying message from nearly every mainstream politician these days. But you
because Farage has won.
Say you have a credible plan. Tell us.
Yeah, I've heard that for a while. Apparently, she was like doom scrolling last year as well. Might have been this year, but she's not very good on detail. She talks about how she never has gaffes. Like, mate, you're a gaff machine. You're an absolute gaff machine. Like, you might have the most gaffes out of most politicians. She's just a ridiculous person.
Incredibly, how you are going to get 150,000 people.
I don't think in England politicians can be normal.
Every year.
Yes.
To leave this country and go back to countries like Afghanistan, Iraq, Eritrea. How are you going to make it happen?
They have come from all over the world. Voluntary returns do happen, but that is why we're having the removals force. We are stacking.
You can't just force people out of the country. It doesn't work. It makes sense. Like, if the other country refuses to accept them, you're just going to be sticking them in airports. Effectively, they're going to be stuck in airports. It doesn't make sense.
We will be standing up a force that does not exist right now, and I've told you where the money is coming from. That is how you do it.
It's just complete nonsense. Like, they voted for the Tory party to deal with this stuff back in 2010, 15, 17 and 2019. They never did. You know, they talked about getting immigration down to tens of thousands. Never did. You know, this small boats crossing issue only became a major problem because of Brexit. They were never going to be able to solve it.
We need to stop the boats.
You know, she's talking about leaving the ECHR here.
Today, After months of work and detailed planning, I'm announcing that the next Conservative government will take Britain out of the ECHR. This is not a decision I take lightly, but our country is our home. It's not a hotel. Nothing will stop me restoring control of our borders. Yes,
I'm not going to lie, the audio quality, can you hear the little, that sounds so irritating.
Government, we tried to control immigration. We passed law after law, and each time they were overturned in the courts. We have looked at every other solution.
I wonder why the courts were overturning, because it wasn't just the ECHR court. It was the courts in this country as well over British law.
This is the only way, and I'm brave enough to do what needs to be done. I set 5 tests.
Gonna make a joke though. So I thought your name was bad and not brave enough. Sorry.
Can we fix our broken asylum system so Parliament, not foreign courts, decides who comes here? Can we remove illegal immigrants and foreign criminals? Can we put British citizens first for social housing and public services? Can we...
I mean, you don't want to build public... You've underfunded social services and social housing. That's complete nonsense that you want to do that.
And vexatious claims against our brave veterans.
What? The ones that have committed potential war crimes abroad? Like, no.
How can we make sure that prison sentences reflect Parliament's intent?
You're meant to do that. You set the service guide, the sentence guidelines. That was you. You could have solved that.
After a detailed review by the best lawyers in the country, including my Shadow Attorney General, Lord Wolfson KC, we have concluded that the only way to deliver these simple tests is to leave the ECHR.
A country that decides to give up its human rights like this is just so stupid. Like, this person has lifted what the ECHR gives us: the right to life, freedom from torture. This freedom from torture is one of the ones that people use to not get deported. Freedom from slavery, the right to liberty, the right to a fair trial, the right not to be punished for something that wasn't against the law at the time. So they can't retroactively punish you, which is a big one, because there was a dude who protested against the Iraq War. I think he just stayed in like a tent for I think a long time now. Well, he's not there now, obviously, but you know, he was there for a long time. They tried to pass a law to ban that, but you know, they couldn't get him because of this ECHR ruling. I think the right to respect for family and private life, freedom of thought, conscience and religion, freedom of expression, right, freedom of assembly, which, you know, the Labour Party are trying to strip away slowly, the right to marry and start a family, the right not to be discriminated against in respect of these rights, the right to protection of property, the right to education, the right to participation in free elections, the abolition of the death penalty. Like, which of these is she really against there?
And that is what we will do. Calmly.
He died a few years back. I remember the story about him. Yeah, I can't remember his name or anything like that. But maybe that's something I'll cover another time. But I remember him.
Responsibly and with a plan. Only the Conservatives have that plan. The Conservative Party has changed. Never again will we spend money we cannot afford. Never again.
I've heard this. I've heard this one before, pal. About the spend money won't afford. Okay.
So high. Other parties are making promises without a plan to deliver them. We will not do that. We know that slogans are not solutions. So I'll be announcing further steps in our plan on Sunday, 5th of October at our party conference.
Just nonsense. Endless nonsense. And we go from one person with endless nonsense to another. Oh, my days. One sec. I've got to refresh this. So, in the wake of, you know, a synagogue being attacked in the UK, you know, they could have interviewed Zach Plansky. I think he would have been a good person to interview, given that he's Jewish. Tories completely trashed their reputation of being fakes.
The new Green Party leader, Zach Plansky, says it's offensive to ask people to stop joining pro-Palestinian marches. Is it not a dark step to limit the fundamental right to protest in a country that's founded on liberty and the right to say and think what you want?
Well, firstly, I don't think it's offensive to ask people to show a little humanity towards a community that has suffered such a terrible tragedy.
But these are, you know, the protests that are protesting Israel are not protesting against Jews.
It's the first loss of Jewish life, simply for being Jewish, on British soil in...
You know, like... You know, Zach Plansky's response is, how dare the Home Secretary talk about humanity and continue to enable genocide, which is true, which is absolutely true, and we'll get onto that in a few minutes as well. But, you know, like Shabana Mahmood's like statements here, just absolutely just ridiculous.
The freedom to protest is a precious freedom in this country. But what I would say to people that are planning to go on a protest is just to take a step back for a minute. Imagine if you had lost a loved one to a terror attack in this country, and just because you have a freedom doesn't mean to say you have to use it all the time. Sometimes a little unity, a little solidarity, some love and friendship to other people.
Solidarity for what? These are people protesting a genocide. Like, there's nothing more you can show solidarity to more than that. Like, these are people protesting like actual war crimes going on.
People is required. I was very disappointed that those protests went ahead last night. 40 arrests were made, including for assaulting police officers.
Look, if you're going to a protest, the last thing you should be doing is attacking people. Like, just don't. You don't help your cause by being violent like this.
Tolerate that behaviour, those individuals will face the full force of the law. And I do think that carrying on in this way does feel un-British, feels wrong, and I would ask...
I don't know, it doesn't feel un-British to me.
People who are thinking about going on protest this weekend, take a step back, imagine it was you, and then just give this community...
How does that have anything to... Like, if I had lost a family member to a terrorist attack and people were protesting something going on in a completely different country, it doesn't make sense. Like, honestly, like her statements make no sense unless you're conflating Israel with the religion of Judaism. I'm saying that the two are the same or whatever. That's the only way this makes sense, which we know is not true. She goes on longer in this interview.
Support of Gazans have been taking place regularly. They have been taking place often in the same sites in our city centres. So do you want to be candid about this and just say you are giving the police the power to ban those particular protests? That's the brass tacks of what you're saying.
So this is not about a ban. This is about restrictions and conditions that will enable the police...
If you put enough restrictions in place, it's effectively a ban. Let's be honest.
To maybe put further time restrictions, move those protests to other places. The police already have powers on conditions for protests. What I will make clear in the law is cumulative disruption is in and of itself a reason to place restrictions.
But if
there will be protests that relate to the conflict in the Middle East that would now come into the...
You can say where it is. You can say where the conflict is. It's an invasion of one country to another. You can say it. You can say Israel's invasion of Gaza. You can say it.
Purview of these changes as other protests as well. So it is always an operational decision for the police to make. But what I'm being explicit about is they can take cumulative disruption into account.
So on the protests that people have seen week after week, some people have looked at them and thought, quite right, those are people standing up for Gazans. Some people have looked at them and thought, as we heard from our panel, actually, those have enabled some people to come out and express hatred towards Jews. What you are doing...
If you are one of those people that are at these protests and just espousing hatred against Jews, like, you're not on the team, like, get lost. You're not helping the cause, get lost.
As the Home Secretary is giving police the powers to move those people on, to disrupt that pattern of regular protest.
What I'm allowing is for the police to be able to take cumulative disruption into account, and it is important, I think, that we make this change so that the right balance can be struck between the...
So this is just a limitation. So if you're protesting your cause, like, how the the anti-Brexiters were protesting constantly, the police can say, you protested once, that's, you don't need to protest again, guys, you're done.
Allowing people the freedom to protest, which is an ancient freedom in this country, but balancing that against the rights of the wider community to be able to go about their business free from intimidation and fear.
How do you if I could say that about any protest, I feel intimidated, I feel in fear, should we just ban any protest then? Any protest I dislike, I can say it makes me feel fear, I feel intimidated by this. It's so silly. It's like the stuff they did with the other anti-protest laws. Make no sense.
The new Green Party leader, Zach Polanski, says it's offensive to ask people to stop joining pro-Palestinian marches. Is it not a dark...
Oh, we've seen this bit already.
Humanity towards a community that has suffered such a terrible tragedy. That's the first loss of Jewish life, simply for being Jewish, on British soil in centuries, actually, as it happens. It's a very, very long time since that's happened in our country. And I think just because you have a freedom doesn't mean to say you have to use it at every moment of every day. Those people could have just waited a day or two and given people...
It wouldn't have been enough for you. It wouldn't have been enough. You would have said, If they waited a day, even a week, you would have made the same case. I guarantee it.
To grieve and process what has happened.
Beyond this weekend,
I don't think there's anything offensive about that. I think that would have been a British response to what we.
But beyond this weekend, what you are suggesting as Home Secretary is a response to limit particular protests that many people believe are part of their fundamental right to go and object to something they see in another part of the world that has horrified them.
Well, look, what we are doing is enabling the police to put more conditions and restrictions, so people will still be able to protest. But I think it is right that we look again at the balance that is being struck at the moment between that right to protest and also the wider rights of our.
It's just complete nonsense.
The conditions they put on these protests, and I have recognised that there is a gap in the law here. There is an inconsistency of practice, and that is why I want to make it absolutely that balance has been not necessarily in the right place. I want to have more consistency of police practice when it comes to the conditions they put.
It's just complete nonsense. This person's a complete joke. If you look at the stuff she was saying before about, being pro-Palestine, by the way.
So many of the MPs, particularly on the government benches, had to stand.
The Tories. This is in 2014.
Stand up and say, I have received many emails from my constituents about this issue. So please keep up the pressure on your members of parliament. Go to their advice surgeries. Take 20 people with you and ask them to justify their views on Palestine and on Gaza. And if they say they support Gaza and support the plight of the Palestinians, ask them to evidence it and to take some action to show solidarity. That's how we can make a difference, because Israel's actions, its killing of children, its bombing of schools and hospitals must be condemned.
You could play this in this year, right? Or you could have played this last year, and the same the speech would be applicable. The exact same speech would be applicable.
Without equivocation, we know what they've done is wrong. If David Cameron fails to speak out, that is a moral outrage. He may stay silent, but we will never stay silent. So let out an almighty roar and tell this government we will not stay silent.
It's crazy, isn't it, how people change, just over a decade. We'll talk about this properly in a minute, but it's just crazy, isn't it? Like, power changes people. They get a chance at they get a chance at some power, and it corrupts them completely. Honestly, yeah, she has, hasn't she?
Now, enforcing the police to arrest vicars and 89-year-olds for just holding up a placard.
I'm afraid whether you're a vicar or an 89-year-old or indeed anybody else, if you're holding up a placard that is supporting a proscribed organisation,
which is if the government, right, say the former government, the Tory government came out and said, like, anyone holding a Labour placard will be charged under the anti-terrorism laws, right? It'd be complete nonsense. Like, this whole court action is just so stupid. Like, you could describe any kind of protest group. Like, you could do that to what's called Just Stop Oil and things like that. It's just nonsense. You can come up with any pretext to do something like this.
You are breaking the law of our land, and I'm afraid I have no truck with this argument that suggests that somehow police resources are better deployed elsewhere, enabling mass criminality by people who have a political point to make.
It'd be much better for police resources to be used for actual crimes, like burglaries, murder, that kind of stuff. Not dealing with the protesters like this.
Criminality, holding up a placard.
Making arrests as required. There is no excuse for breaking the law. You wouldn't expect the Home Secretary to say anything other than the rule of law and the laws.
Well, you've set yourself up for this, you dodo.
Our land must be obeyed, and those who break our law will face the full force of the law.
I want you to hold on to that thought. The people who break the law will face the full force of the law.
You're proposing to introduce even more restrictions on people's right to protest, and you know that actually our current regime, the current administration, is receiving international condemnation from all sorts of human rights groups and the like, saying that Britain is showing signs of basically almost an authoritarian tendency in arresting people for doing nothing more than, as I say, holding up a placard.
Well, what Britain is doing is making sure that the law of our land is actually maintained.
The law is stupid in this case.
It is not holding up a placard, and I really must pick you up on that, Lewis. In holding up a placard, you're breaking the law because you're supporting a proscribed.
Just completely not, honestly, right? She's got big, like, Priti Patel vibes, honestly. Big Priti Patel vibes, and look, facing the full force of the law here. A new investigation by Channel 4 indicates 110,000 bullets were sent from Britain to Israel last month. The value of the UK arms shipments to Israel from the UK totaled more than £150,000. So, given the fact that the UK is meant to have banned lethal weapons aid to Israel, why has that happened? Why are we still selling them weapons? Because according to this genius here, he goes, licenses were blocked for any equipment deemed to be used by the IDF in Gaza. That is a matter of documentary fact. If any companies have breached those licenses conditions, they should be prosecuted. So how is the UK still selling this stuff? How is the UK still selling this stuff to Gaza and to Israel, unless Israel's argument is we're not using this stuff in Gaza, which doesn't make any sense. It's just crazy. The whole thing is crazy to me. And I saw this tweet from Mehdi Hassan, which actually was, one of the things where I do get frustrated by these kind of things, where he goes, Home Secretary introduces new restrictions on protests and give police officers more power to consider the cumulative impact of repeated demonstrations, which again means absolutely nothing. And for any right-wingers who think this won't affect them, do you not think they're going to look at the cumulative impact that right-wingers have when they go to different towns and protest? Do you not think they won't do it? It's just crazy to me. Ahmed Hassan says, I spent decades calling for more minority Muslim representation in the corridors of power, but if this is what it looks like, an eagerness to suck up to power and suppress dissent and opposition to genocide, then no thanks. And this is what I mean. When people talk about, we need more minorities in government, we need more women in government. So I couldn't give a shit, mate. Honestly, could not care. More women in government, there is an importance there because of there are some areas where men are very blind to things that affect specifically women. But when it comes to we need people just for representation, fuck off. We need people who actually are clued in as to what's going on and won't just won't bow down to power like this, because you have someone who you would think on paper would maybe not back Palestinian action, but wouldn't go to this length. She wouldn't go to the lengths of, talking about how they're going to do record deportations, all this stuff as a minority person. She's talking about how, when her parents came to Britain, immigration wasn't that big a deal, but now suddenly it's a massive deal. It's the same stuff Suella Braverman said. I don't see much of a difference in terms of, in terms of character, in terms of beliefs between her and the last few Home Secretaries. Arguably, James Cleverly has been a better Home Secretary in some ways than Shabana Mahmood, Priti Patel, and what's her name, Suella Braverman. Because at least he didn't push the stop the boats nonsense as much as the other ones. I think he was Home Secretary. Anyways, maybe I got him confused with someone else, but I don't know, man. I just when people are just it's complete brain dead. Honestly, they're trying to out-reform, so they put the minority person in there, so then you can't accuse them of being racist because they're a minority. You can't say she's racist. You can't say she's pushing far-right agenda because she's a minority. It's complete nonsense. They'll never accept people like us. They just won't. You can deport as many brown people and black people as you want, right? At the end of the day, they will never accept you for who you are because they're racist, and you got the wrong skin color. You got too much melanin. It's just endless frustration. It's one of the things which I've seen this story before, with these kind of things. It's not one of the main reasons I've stopped covering politics as much as it's just boring, because we see this story time after time after time, and nothing changes here. It's that we're doomed to repeat the same cycle over and over again. And I think that's where we're at with this stuff. It's just this person clamping down on people who are pro-Palestine. I just give up, guys. Honestly, what's the point? You can bring up videos from years gone by, and it'll be the same. Have the same relevance. You just change the name slightly. That's why I've been reading more. I've been trying to read more about Gramsci. I've been trying to understand him a lot better, because I think he's one of the most interesting ones, where he talks about counter hegemony. His idea that it doesn't matter who you are, you can be on the team. If you're against the system, you can be on the team, because on paper you'd think, a person who is a Muslim person who is who is Asian, you think she would be on the face of it, she would be more pro-Palestine. She would be not as trigger happy with talking about deportations and all this stuff, given the fact that her parents immigrated here. But no, she's as bad as the other lot. In fact, she's pushing all the digital ID nonsense. Or she's worse than Yvette Cooper. Counter hegemony is just. I think this is where I'm closer to this kind of idea of, I don't care if you go to private school, whatever, like, people, I'll talk about him in a bit, talk about how, oh, look at this posh educated twat, in Jeremy Corbyn, talking about how, oh, he's privately educated and all this stuff. So I don't care. Like, a lot of these like people, these political thinkers, they weren't poor. Like, some of them were middle class, some of them were wealthy. Because the only time you get to actually think about ideas when you're not, in the farms, university was a massive deal back then, and Lenin, I think, was university educated. This idea that just because they're rich or whatever, they can't be on the team is simply nonsense. It's about their ideas, their actual beliefs, who they are. And, when it comes to certain people, they're lacking in core. They're lacking in beliefs. Starmer would be one. You think a kid who grew up in, supposedly working class in a Pebble Dash semi, whatever the hell that means, right? Wouldn't be doing the things that he's doing, but he doesn't care. Not really. Yeah, I think it is. It does feel like it's based on that colonial practice. Honestly, it's just sad to me. I will have to read more on Gramsci. Maybe I'll do a video on him. But what is right for the people? What is it? That's the question. But yeah, I think Gramsci is probably one of the most interesting people I've read about. In terms of his beliefs and things like that, and his idea of it doesn't matter who you are, you can be on the team, and I think that's important because I think when you look at what certain people have said, it's just the hatred they have towards other people. I know there's a line. We have to have some sort of purity test. We can't just, people that have messed up really badly, we can't just accept them back in without some sort of at least an apology. I don't know. I don't know where the line is though. Like I saw this terror attack on a mosque. An investigation is underway to see what's happened here, but it's barely got any coverage. Shabana Mahmood took almost the whole day to discuss it, but she goes, an investigation is ongoing, but it seems clear that things could easily have been far worse. So, not really much about, any of this, really. But this information has taken a whole day, And actually put out a statement on it, which is crazy to me. But, maybe it's because no one died or whatever, but still, it looks like a racially motivated attack here. We'll have to wait and see, but, they've attacked a mosque, and it's not the first time a mosque has been attacked either. And on the back of the synagogue attack, Shabana Mahmood says the terror attack on Manchester synagogue shows that there is a problem with integration that goes further than most other leading Labour politicians. She goes, this is a question for us to ask ourselves on integration. When somebody has grown up with all the advantages of this society, all of the rights, the freedoms that go along that, why do people do these acts? It's our job to think long and hard about what is happening. I do consider it my responsibility to draw wider lessons on integration. I recognise that there is a problem here. It is for one of us as a government to think deeply about, end quote. And it's just, that you'll always get people that are wrong, like they won't always integrate into society, not because of there's a problem with the way we integrate people into society. It's just some people are just wrong-uns. This guy, apparently his father was a surgeon. He would have, his family would have been wealthy, or at least had some decent amount of money. So it's not down to poverty. He's done this. Some people are just sick. What the hell? We just got a massive spike in viewers. What the hell? Our viewership just doubled to almost 30. That's crazy. On the Sunday night as well. But, to argue this is a failure of integration, I don't think it is. If you compare myself to Shabana Mahmood, right, we're both children we're both children of immigrants, right? Because both my parents emigrated here. Hi, Flow Snake. And we have very different views on things, but I'd say we're both integrated into the system. Not into the system, but into the country quite well. I struggle with this kind of stuff, guys, because that's, when we talk about integration, again, this is the same stuff that Farage and the same stuff that Priti Patel and Suella Braverman will talk about. The problem is integration, immigrants not doing enough. It falls on the back of her talking about how people need to volunteer in Britain to get, full residency rather than just working. It doesn't make sense, in my opinion, the stuff people are saying. So these kind of takes, it's got that, there's the failure to integrate. I just don't get what you want to do for integration. I don't get it. How do you define someone who's integrated and versus someone who isn't? I didn't get it. That's a massive spike in viewers. Thanks, everyone. Surprising for a Sunday night. You got a Labour MP being called out on hypocrisy here by Rivka Brown.
I know you voted to prescribe Palestine
And this is one of the reasons I think she got banned from the conference as well.
action. Do you stand by that decision? Yes. And would you have voted to prescribe the suffragettes?
Such a good question. It's such a good question. Sorry.
I mean, I wasn't there at the time, but I doubt it. Why not? They did much worse than Palestine Action, as you know. They put poison in people's letterboxes. They killed over 3 people.
Well, I mean, you know. Oh, hello.
Is it different when it's women's rights campaigners?
No. It's absolutely not different. It's based on intelligence that is gathered and risk, and
they have.
So you got one group who killed people, right? Versus another group who haven't killed anyone, right? And she's like, no, it's based on intelligence, guys.
Didn't hurt anyone. They haven't been charged. They haven't been convicted of hurting anyone.
Well, you know, those trials will go on, won't they?
Yeah, they will. But why did you vote to prescribe when
I can see the government losing this one. I could definitely see the government losing this.
Not been anyone charged with violence or convicted of violence?
Well, because of the intelligence.
Which you'd seen?
Which, I mean, I'm not going to talk about...
What access does what higher access would Jess Phillips even get? You know, she's barely a minister, I don't think. She's not an important one, so I don't think she would even get, like, security clearance.
That sort of thing. But
are you saying that just to kind of justify something? Because none of us have seen it. So you're saying we've got to decide based on our intelligence what you've seen based on intelligence that none of us are.
You would think, what if they have some sort of intelligence that Palestine Action were a genuine terror group, right? They should show the public, because then you would get less people protesting to back this group. It's so stupid.
Well, look. That's the thing about being in government, isn't it?
You get to decide things based on intelligence. No one can see. You get to decide things. Oh well.
I think I know where they got the intelligence from, guys. I think I know. Do you guys know who it could have been? Who it could have given her the information? I think I know, guys. Do you guys got any guesses? The Right Honourable is just an honourable, i.e. Privy Council. Yeah, I don't think she'll have access to anything that's like any kind of intelligence. I think I know where her source is. You ready?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
I think her source is my boy, Senator Armstrong of Colorado. No greater source than him.
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
Because I can't lie, if the government go to the court, right, and you know, because there's a court case on this, I believe, about Palestine Action being a terror group. I don't think the government will win that case. I'll be honest. I can't see it.
Stinks, doesn't it?
Well, sorry, I miss my soundboard, guys. I miss my soundboard so much. You don't understand. Like, I need more USB ports, guys. I'm struggling here. That's odd.
I know you understand.
Miss my soundboard so much. But yeah, and we haven't even discussed the most important thing, which is the bloody budget. The budget. that's coming up next month. This is going to be Labour's biggest problem. The budget. Rachel Reeves is starting to take shape. How can she find £35 billion she needs? She told Bloomberg she won't raise the headline rate of income tax, national insurance and VAT. She also ruled out hiking corporation tax or doing a standalone wealth tax. Reeves doesn't deny she'll extend a freeze on income tax threshold, which could raise $7.5 billion, which is an effective tax increase. She indicated she'll raise taxes on gambling, which could get $3.2 billion. But if you put that towards, getting rid of the 2-child benefit cap, that's not, that still doesn't factor into that black hole she's got, 35 bill. Not in the short term. Her Majesty's Treasury is looking at more spending restraint at the end of the Parliament, which could raise $5 billion. They still want to reform welfare, which, again, is going to be very difficult to do. That's why they set Pat McFadden in there. Someone's gifted membership. Thank you, Ruth. QA, the beneficiary of a gifted membership. Thank you, everyone. But yeah, Reeves could change the scope of threshold for VAT, adding $2 billion. So I think that's adding more stuff into the VAT threshold. I think I saw Phil talking about cookies versus cakes. I think one is taxed at VAT and the other isn't. I think, right, don't use the term midterms. Get that utter woke nonsense out of here. No, we don't use the word midterms in this country. It's council elections, it's local elections, and Scottish elections. We don't use midterms in this country. Utter woke nonsense, mate. Get that gone. Get that gone. We don't do that here. No, get that off my screen.
Some of it is utter woke nonsense. Some of it is utter woke nonsense.
Utter woke nonsense, mate. I'm not having that. Oh. I'm not having that in my stream. Not having it. But yeah, so that's one option for her. She could get another 2 billion by ending national council elections. There you go. Local elections is the correct term, I think. Get another 2 billion ending national insurance relief for business partnerships. God knows what that means. There'll also be likely big new taxes on the wealthy, perhaps on dividend payments, pensions, and property, raising billions more. So it's possible that they're gonna raise national insurance in line with income tax, which they should have done. Is that like an easy midterm? Yeah, that's a test paper. That's tests. People have to do test paper. But yeah, we go on to the main man, the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, Sir Keir Starmer.
Spoke about a broken Britain 2 years ago.
What is broken can be repaired.
So Britain isn't broken or is broken?
Well,
which is it?
What I was referring to there is, bits of our system like prisons, etc., pretty broken, hospitals pretty broken. But today I was trying to make a bigger argument about who we are as a country. And
but that's a flip-flop, isn't it? Some parts of Britain are broken, some parts of it...
I think it's perfectly all right to say, look...
No, it's pretty much a flip-flop, I think. Oh, look, that's pretty funny. Shall I get this in the Discord? One sec, guys. I'm gonna keep this one. I want to steal this clip. This one's a good angle. This will make a very good thumbnail one day. I don't know where to store it. Shall I make a new one? Images for thumb. So I want to keep this one. This one's good. But you can't you can make the argument that areas of the country are broken. I'm pulling a Goodall here and being pedantic. But I don't think you can make the argument that Britain was broken 2 years ago and it's not now.
The prison system is pretty broken, and we're mending it. But at the same time, the country's not broken. Who we are as a people. I just do not accept that Britain is broken. It was a...
Maybe he doesn't accept what he said 2 years ago.
Bigger argument about who we are as a...
Because he's trying to unify the country. But when you talk about 2 years ago how broken the country is, because obviously he wants to take a dig at the Tories, but also he's correct that, things are not working. But I think if he made a speech about how, the areas where he's trying to heal the country and repair the broken parts, that would have made more sense in that speech, rather than saying, I refuse to believe the arguments that Britain is broken.
Who we are as a people, rather than whether bits of the system are broken.
You spoke...
It says it here somewhere.
We are as a people. I just do not accept that Britain is broken. It was a bigger argument about who we are.
From my left eye. Was the thing raided by someone? Who is that? What? That would make sense. Who's my left eye? Do I have to give someone a shout out? Who's this? I've not heard of them. Interesting. Oh, they must have raided, yeah. I've not heard of them. I might. I've dropped them a sub anyway, so I'll have a look, see what they got. So yeah. Hey, nice one. Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate that, or mate, how should I say? Cause I don't know. You could be a girl, a woman, or whatever. But it doesn't matter now. Behind the times match. What am I? Am I behind the times? Sorry, I've not. I'll have a look at your channel later. Let me see. Get on the Sunday roast, my guy. Get on the Sunday roast. I'll chat to Alex about it. I'll have a look at your content. I'll see if I can chat to Alex about it. See if we can do something. See if we can do something. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. Makes sense.
We are as a people, rather.
So yeah, I don't agree. I think this is dumb from Sakir. Starmer's announced small boat arrivals will lose automatic settlement and family reunion rights. Currently, they get a 5-year route to settlement and can bring family to the UK. Which again, it's Nigel Farage wins again. Easy dub for this one because again, he knows how to push the Everton window. It's another win for him. I saw this clip. I know Max covered this. Clip's hilarious.
Yeah, politicians who whip up division and then cry wolf. I mean, Nigel Farage has just been a snowflake over this, to be frank. He needs to pull himself together. There was no threat to him. He criticised the one policy reform we've got, which is basically, hate migrants.
And I'm not going to lie, guys. Can you name any other policies that the Reform Party have? Like, genuinely, can you guys name any? Like, put it in chat. Can you guys name any more?
And he called him out for it, and good on him for doing it. And it's taken far too long, frankly, for Keir Starmer to do that. But yesterday he drew a line and he did it well.
Of course, reform doesn't frame and believe the policy to be as you just framed it in the brief there. Does it just around?
I do hate journalists when they do the old. Well, you know what Reform would say? They'd say we're not racist, mate. I shouldn't do the voice actually because I still get caricature. Well, Reform would say we are not racist. That's better, I think.
Things off, Tom.
I don't think there's any other way you can describe it. And
Well, you can't say they hate migrants. I mean, the language is important this week.
They just want to deport them.
They want to round them up, put them in vans, rip them out of their families, their homes, their communities, and send them off somewhere else. I think most...
Which is true. That's what Reform want to do. They want to get rid of indefinite leave to remain. And they start getting rid of people.
People would interpret that as hating them.
Yeah.
Well, again...
oh, yeah, they want to get rid of net zero. That's one.
To go back to a central part of my last argument is, you certainly can't speak for what's in people's minds.
That's so dumb. If, when they're trying to defend racist people, so, well, you don't know what's in their mind. Is like, well, they just told us. What he said about Bulgarians and Romanians was racist. He's telling you who he is. He's telling you he's racist. It's okay. We can name it.
I think we'll lose track on this. I guess the final question.
So funny. The camera zoom there is outrageous. Just dumb. Just dumb. We got a bit more here.
Really interesting that he's decided to take this tack with the idea of the small boats and trying to basically pin this on Nigel Farage, saying this is all because of the Dublin Convention, the fact that we've left it. It is fair to say, we've heard from interviews with migrants, we've heard from interviews with the Home Office, people I've spoken to definitely do say that we are now more of a pull factor for some refugees, some asylum seekers.
It's partly because their claims get done faster here than France, which is not France's fault. Because France have I think a much bigger backlog, because they get many more applications.
Now we are outside of the European Union and outside of the Dublin Convention, also fingerprinting agreements as well, which can allow you to check whether an asylum seeker, a refugee, has made an application in another country before they come to the UK. We don't have access to that anymore. That is obviously having an effect because people are trying through multiple countries, being rejected, then coming to the UK.
Which I think Starmer is trying to alleviate, because I don't think that's right. I think I don't think it's right if you go to multiple countries. Like if we have the same standards for asylum claims, I don't know how you could try and go to multiple countries and claim it. But I do want to discuss a bit more on Graham Hughes because I'm his biggest fan. I love his content so much.
We have these purity tests and this, the interaction I had with Owen Jones a few years ago at the Labour conference where he had to go at me for not voting Labour every single election of my life. And I'm like, I didn't just vote against them in the past. I've actually stood against them in the past as an independent.
That's why his membership got revoked. So, it's okay to stand against Labour. It's okay to criticise Labour. It's fine, guys.
Candidate. And he was just enraged about this because it offended this sense of purity, right? These purity tests, and I'm sick of them. They are rocket fuel for fascism. If we keep on being gatekeepers of who we allow in, if we keep shouting at people who said the wrong thing once, or I'm not talking about necessarily politicians here. I'm talking about like political commentators or people who just want to talk about this.
No, last time he got. I think he got revoked because he voted wrongly.
stuff and might be able to be brought on side. You know,
it is funny because in the same clip he talks about Gary Stevenson, and some of the people at the Tommy Robinson thing. The Gary, I was going to mention this actually, but I thought it's worth actually listening to. He talks about Gary Stevenson.
The old trope stands that the right look for converts, the left look for traitors.
So he's talking about how he's against purity tests and we should be accepting of people and all of this kind of stuff, right? And then he mentions Gary Stevenson. We'll look at this bit. He talks about people at the I think it's at the Tommy Robinson. We'll go from here.
That no matter how, and I got a bit upset with Gary Stevenson last week when we were talking about the protests in London, the Tommy Robinson demonstration, with all of these wife beaters, criminals, sexual assaulters, rapists, embezzlers, just all round scumbags talking at this thing that he was doing.
I mean, I don't think everyone who goes to a Tommy Robinson rally is necessarily the worst person in society. Like, they might not always be racist and things like that. Some of them probably misguided. Some of them might be able to change their opinion of them. But how are you going to do that when you just insult them, or despite the fact that you're the one who needs to get these people on side, because these are potential Reform UK voters, but you're the one who's against purity tests and name calling and all of this stuff, and yet here you are doing it.
Right. And Gary Stevenson's response as well, this is because working class people are feeling,
we'll get to that. Don't worry, we'll get to that.
They're feeling left behind, that they don't have much money, and so they decide to be racist. No.
They don't necessarily decide to be racist. They might see Tommy Robinson as the only guy who's fighting for white working class people. That's how they might see it, and I think you might be able to change some of their minds if you tell them the fact that people like Tommy Robinson doesn't care about him. He's just a grifter. If you explain to them, if they're still racist after that, if they still hate Muslim people after that, then fair enough, they're too far gone. But you have to at least make the attempt. This is a guy who's against purity tests, but now we're talking about purity tests.
I know hundreds of working class people who are not racist. I don't necessarily just hang out in some middle class clique, this bubble where
But like I said, some people are easily can be misled. Like, this is a guy who called Owen Jones a professional Tory enabler, despite the fact that this is the guy in Graham Hughes who ran against Corbyn's Labour Party. So how does that help the Labour Party when you go against them? How does it help when you threatened a Labour MP and said, in the wake of the Brexit referendum, Hughes wrote to his local Labour MP, Stephen Twigg, threatening to stand against him in an upcoming election if he voted with the Conservative Party to activate Article 50 without any protection for EU citizens living in the UK or British citizens living in the EU against the wishes of a majority of his constituents. So, is this okay? Are we allowed to do this? Are we allowed to say to our local Labour MPs, I don't like what you're doing. If you do this thing, I'm going to run against you. When Theresa May called a snap election in 2017, Hughes, true to his word, returned to the UK. So this is a guy who was living abroad, returned to the UK to run against Twigg as an independent candidate. He won 0.7% of the vote. So is it okay or is it not? Like, I don't get it. Like, what do you want? Oh, I can put this on dark mode. Sick. I don't get it. Like, you can be against purity tests, you can be against all this stuff, right? But, don't be calling people Tory enablers. It doesn't make sense when you're the one who pushed, who was a part of the Lib Dems. If you want to, talk about the people who enabled austerity and things like that, we can, that's the Lib Dems. Especially 2017, that's only 2 years off the coalition. So, I don't know, guys. Like, honestly, I can't believe that the PM said Britain is not broken. I can't see the logic here. If you want that clip, bro, let me find it for you. Let me see if it's here. I think it's here. What's this one? Is this a full video? So in this segment, we're going to be discussing this video from Fermi where that shouldn't be in that folder. Where is the... I failed to see the logic here. Is that not in this? Oh, man. I'm not sure where that is. Ah, there it is.
I fail to see the logic here. The price to pay for power.
I don't know, man. Like, do you want a purity test or not? You're angry at these people. You're throwing insults at them. Some of them deserve it, some don't. you know, if your thinking is you won't be able to convert any of them, that's fine. But I think you probably can change a few of them. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if you could. But I don't know, man. You know, this argument against purity tests and things like that. I think at some level you do need to have some sort of purity test. I think you can't just accept everyone. But you know, we have to ask ourselves, you know, are these people against the system here, or are they enabling it? I think that's the main question. Are they the ones that are going to enable people to get away with, ultra wealthy people to get away with things? Are they the ones that are actually going to, you know, tax the rich? You know, actually bring down wealth inequality, and that's one way to deal with fascism and things like that. Are they actually going to help people in this country? Are they going to, be against, war crimes in other countries and stop arming genocides and other kind of war crimes? Or are they going to arm them? Are they going to continue to sell them weapons? As we learned in some tweet somewhere, where'd it go? Was it here? No, are they gonna be these kinds of people who carry water for them? Yeah, Nightflow Snake. But yeah, it is a broad church base. Like, how broad is it? You know, like who you can accept? Or would you accept, you know, Tony Blair back into the party? Would you accept who is the you know, you can accept, like, where's the line being drawn here? You know, how broad is this church? That's the question. Because if it accepts everyone, then it's, you know, you might as well just put it in the bin now. You know, the Conservative Party had the same problem when they allowed in a load of UKIP people, and it destroyed their party. And we let in a load of Blue Labour people. I saw this on the Sunday roast. I was tempted to mention it, but because I saw what's his name? Graham was on it with Liz Webster. That was it. I probably should remember the name. And I saw it. It was actually quite interesting to me, because she mentions the Blue Labour bit. Ugh, I had to pull the transcript up. It's annoying. They mention Sweeney and Blue Labour. They've misspelled it here, but it doesn't matter.
Sweeney and Blue Labour, they are not Labour. They are Conservative.
Yeah, it's not.
Head of Blue Labour, isn't he?
Yeah, he apologised to Farage this week for being called racist, even though I've got a 20-minute video of Farage being racist.
If you want to be a Tory, join the freaking Tories. Like, I don't get this. But when you're saying that they are Tories, Liz, you're right in their ideology, but they're not in the way that they practice it. Because if they were, like, proper Tories, they'll use every...
Bro, you voted for him. You voted. These are the guys, Maurice Glassman, or whatever his name is, he's been there for a while. Morgan McSweeney, he's been there for a while. You know, you voted for these people, and that's, you know, the title of the stream, which is when you get what you voted for. This is what you voted for, my guy. This is it. This is what you wanted. I can't explain it to you better than that. This is it. You know, you talk about, you know, Blue Labour or whatever. Like, these are your mans. They were talking about, you know, bringing down immigration numbers and all of this kind of stuff before. I don't know if you mentioned Stop the Boats actually in 2024. Let's have a look. I'm trying to think, when did he start mentioning this stuff? We'll go just before the election. Let's see. Yeah, look, small boats policy. This is dated before the election. We knew who this man is.
Illegal migration is a test of seriousness.
So illegal migration, he means, you know, people crossing the channel.
For all governments and would-be governments. And not just here, right across the world. A symbol, as I said in my conference speech last year, of a more volatile world, an age
oh my
of
days, bro.
We will restore serious government to our borders, tackle this problem at source, and replace the Rwanda policy permanently. And as the first step in this plan, a new manifesto commitment. We will set up a new command with new powers, new resources, and a new way of doing things. Border Security Command.
Oh yeah, I remember this. All of the keywords, border security and all this stuff, border force.
Now this is about leveraging the power and potential of dynamic government based on a counter-terrorism approach, which we know works.
Yeah. You know, if Labour wins the election, the Rwanda policy, Labour has no proposal to remove migrants on authorised routes. So how does Keir Starmer plan to deal with, quote, illegal migration stack up? So they got bits on the Conservatives. They got anything here that's actually good with tens of thousands of asylum. Labour said it would negotiate returns agreements with individual states and European Union, creating a mechanism for those in Britain unlawfully, but such a deal is not straightforward. So again, he just talked absolute nonsense. Labour are going to deal with the smuggling gangs. Like, we knew all this stuff before the election. I think they've gotten a bit more egregious in the stuff they've said. But, they included Natalie Elphicke, a person who was a complete dodo. But, she was one of those ones who wanted to stop the boats desperately because it was right on her doorstep in Dover. But it's just nonsense, honestly. Like, we knew who these people were before the election. It was very obvious, like, who was in charge. It was the Labour Together group. It was Morgan McSweeney. It was this Maurice Glassman fella. Don't know a lot about him, but he's been there for a while. He's in charge of Blue Labour, and Blue Labour are the ones who have got Labour's ear. We've had Starmer's ear for a while, hence why he dropped a lot of his progressive policies before the election. Yeah, well, I just honestly, you can see why I give up, guys, because you got people in the space who are just complete clueless at times, especially when it comes to their own parties that they back. I've seen people make excuses for Polanski joining the Lib Dems in 2015, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, this is a question that needs to be answered. Who is this guy really? And the problem is he's the best guy we've got. And when I talk about, again, when I go back to counter hegemony, he's against the system. So do we just accept him, regardless of if that question's asked about him joining the Lib Dems? Do we just accept that and move on? I don't know. I don't know, guys, honestly. I don't know what more to say. It's tragic that we've gotten to this point. Like, it's not even apathy, it's just boredom with politics. That's why I don't cover this stuff as much, because there's nothing more for me to add. Yeah, that'd be a funny one, Flow Snake, honestly, but there's not much more for me to say. Wasn't Blue Labour's whole point originally to undermine? Yeah, it was. That was Labour Together. That was their whole point. They were the guys who really pushed aggressively for a second referendum in the 2019 manifesto when, Boris Johnson intelligently ran on get Brexit done. And, that was one of the key things that got him the win in that 2019 election, get Brexit done. The nightmare's over, I'll end it. It's just, like I said, I'm just bored, guys. Like, there's nothing, like, week to week, there's nothing more for me to add. And like I said, I see other people in the space, I'm just like a bit embarrassed for them. Like, when you're full-time and I can still outrun you, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, honestly. But when I see people just doing nonsense takes, I think maybe one of the reasons why I see things differently to other people is because I'm not in the trenches every day trying to, cover content and think of ways I can try and spin things. Like, I'm just here like once a week at best. And, I just look at stuff, I tell you what I think, and that's it. There's not much to what I'm saying here. But honestly, guys, I'm more... It's just sad more than anything. Sad. I think that's why Mann, Austin, and Woodcock were made lords by Bojo Service, the Tory party. I don't know, man, but like I said, like it doesn't make sense. Like, a lot of the stuff is so... It is boring. It's boring, in my opinion. Not much more to say, guys. Like, what more do you want me to add? Honestly, to an extent, like, some things there's not much more for me to say on certain subjects. So I'm just gonna call it a day, guys. Honestly, like, I do appreciate, we've got almost 30 people in the live stream on Sunday night. Like, almost 11 people got like stuff to do tomorrow. I appreciate everyone. Like, like, as much as I've taken a step back from the channel a little bit because of just stuff going on in my life, like good stuff, like positive things. Which party had best conference? Probably the Greens. I know they look like they had a blast, a fun time. Best conference, probably the Greens. Worst conference, probably the Conservative Party, because they had a massive room that was empty. They had a room on free speech. There's about 4 people there, and one dude was on his phone. Like, I would wager I could put something on in the town centre, and I'd get more than 4 people to stand up. So yeah. But anyways, guys, I haven't got much more to say. I'll catch you lot probably next week. I do want to do a midweek stream, so yeah, I'll figure out. Thanks, Ruth, for the gifted membership as well. Appreciate it. But yeah, we're done here. So I'll be back I'll be back next week where we're probably packing someone else up. Oh, where's my thingy? Where's Venom Snake smoking? It's gonna be down here, isn't it? Where is it? There we go. We're gonna end on my guy Venom Snake smoking the back.